On May 28, 1972, Lily Gray was driving a Ford Pinto on Interstate 15 outside San Bernardino, California. She was 52 years old. Richard Grimshaw, 13, sat in the passenger seat. A stalled vehicle was in their lane. The Pinto hit it at roughly 30 miles per hour. The fuel tank ruptured on impact. The fire started within seconds. Lily Gray died. Richard Grimshaw survived, with burns covering more than 90% of his body. 3 years later, Ford's internal documents appeared in a California courtroom. What they showed wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an oversight. It was a calculation, careful, methodical, and approved at multiple levels of the company. A calculation that had concluded in writing that it was cheaper to let people burn than to fix the car. The number they put on a human life was $200,725. And the most disturbing part wasn't that Ford had done the math, it was that the math was right. To understand what Ford did, you have to understand what Ford thought it was doing. The Pinto launched in 1971. It was Lee Iacocca's project. Small, cheap, and built on aggressive schedule. The target was a car under 2,000 pounds and under $2,000, and the team hit both. In a market being eaten by Volkswagen and Toyota, the Pinto was exactly what Ford needed. During development, crash tests revealed a problem. At low speeds, sometimes as low as 25 miles per hour, a rear-end collision could drive the fuel tank into a set of bolts on the differential, rupturing it. An $11 rubber bladder could fix it. A slight repositioning of the tank was another option. Ford ran the numbers. The National High Traffic Safety Administration, the federal agency responsible for road safety, had published a framework for exactly this kind of decision. It was standard regulatory practice. You estimate the number of future deaths and injuries, you assign each a dollar value, you weigh that against the cost of the fix multiplied by the number of vehicles. If the fix costs more than the harm, regulators considered it economically unjustifiable. Ford used the federal agency's own numbers, 12.5 million vehicles, an estimated 180 deaths, 180 injuries, 2,100 burned cars, each death valued at $200,725 and each injury at $67,000. Total projected harm is $49.5 million. However, the cost of the fix across all vehicles, $137 million. The fix cost nearly 3 times the harm. By the formula the government had written, not fixing the Pinto was the responsible choice. Ford submitted this analysis as part of its regulatory comments opposing a proposed fuel system safety standard. It was not a secret document. It was filed with the federal government. Nobody flagged it. The document stayed quiet for years. Then, in 1977, a journalist named Mark Dewey got a copy. His investigation ran in Mother Jones magazine under the title Pinto Madness. It was the first time the American public saw the table, the columns, the figures, the arithmetic of acceptable deaths. Dewey estimated that between 500 and 900 people had died in Pinto fires that a safer fuel system would have prevented. Ford disputed the number, but nobody disputed the memo. The story broke through because it gave people something the memo never had. It gave them names. In 1978, a jury in Orange County, California, heard the Grimshaw case in full. They saw the cost-benefit analysis. They heard testimony about what Richard Grimshaw's recovery had involved. the surgeries, the years, the face he no longer had. They also heard about 3 young women, Judy, Lem, and Donna Ulrich, who had died in a separate Pinto fire in Indiana months earlier, a case that would eventually lead to the only criminal homicide charge ever filed against an American corporation. The Orange County jury awarded Richard Grimshaw $2.5 million in compensatory damages. Then they added $125 million in punitive damages, later reduced to $3.5 million on appeal, but the signal was unmistakable. The math Ford had done was correct by the formula. The formula, it turned out, had missed something that no spreadsheet could capture. There is a philosopher whose work gets at exactly what the formula missed. His name is Peter Singer, and his book, The Life You Can Save, which you can listen for free through the link in the description, asks why we are wired to respond to one face and ignore 1,000 numbers. The answer reconstructs everything about what happened in that Ford conference room. In 1968, the economist Thomas Schelling wrote an essay with a quiet title and an explosive idea. He called it "The Life You Save May Be Your Own." Schelling noticed something about the way people make decisions involving death. When a death is statistical, a projected figure in a future scenario, it produces almost no emotional response. It is a number. Numbers do not have families. Numbers do not have names. When a death is identified, a specific person, visible, present, already real, the emotional response is overwhelming. We will spend almost any amount to save a child whose name we know. Meanwhile, we will argue for hours over a budget line while thousands of unnamed strangers die in the background. Schelling called this the identifiable victim effect. Ford's engineers were not looking at Lily Gray. They were looking at 180 fatalities. The people in that number had no faces in the document. They had dollar values. And once you assign a dollar value to something, the math takes over. The math feels objective. The math feels responsible. The math in this case had been provided by the government itself. This is what the identifiable victim effect does to institutions. It doesn't make people cruel, it just makes the wrong thing feel professional. You take a human being and you turn them into a line item, a projected figure, a future statistic, and once that happens, the math takes over. Because math doesn't grieve and math doesn't hesitate. The numbers look precise. The process looks responsible. Nobody in that room felt like they were making a moral decision. They felt like they were doing their jobs. That's the trap. The harm doesn't feel like harm. It feels like analysis. In 1973, the people who would die in Pinto fires were a number in a document. Nobody in the Ford conference room had ever met them. However, in 1978, Richard Grimshaw sat in a California courtroom. The jury could see his face. They didn't need a formula. They awarded $125 million in punitive damages before the week was out. That is the identifiable victim effect, not as a theory, as a verdict. Interstate 15 still runs through San Bernardino. Cars pass that stretch of road every day. Millions of them over 50 years, driven by people who will never know what happened there in May of 1972. What Ford did wasn't unique. Schelling's insight was never just about cars. It is about every institution that has ever had to decide how much safety is enough. Every pharmaceutical risk assessment, every building code, every environmental standard. They all use formulas. The formulas are usually defensible. They are often even correct by the criteria the formula accepts. What the formula never accepts is the face. Ford eventually recorded 1.5 million Pintos in 1978. The fix cost around $20 per vehicle. The parts they denied to fit in 1971 had cost $11. The arithmetic 5 years later looked completely different, not because the numbers had changed, because by then everyone knew the names and saw the faces.